Hello everyone, I'm Sir JC and you are watching Literature Unfolded. In this episode, we are about to discuss the different types of imagery. Imagery is the poetic element that tries to create a picture in the mind of the reader, or what we call a mental image. As you imagine what you are reading, it is like a series of mental pictures or a movie that plays in your brain. Mental pictures that readers experience while reading is called imagery. Imagery appeals directly to one or more senses of the readers. You, as a reader, must sense what you are reading even it is written in words. You must see it, taste it, hear it, smell it, and touch it using your imagination, or what we called imagery. Imagery can be achieved using words and figural language. The words are delicately used to describe properly and to portray the image accurately that will trigger the reader's senses. Figural or figurative language refers to a language that intended to create an image association or other effect in the mind of listener or reader. It goes beyond the literal meaning or expected use of the words involved. With that, here are the different types of imagery. Visual imagery. It is produced by the use of words that appeal to the sense of sight. When you can visualize the colors, shapes, forms, and aesthetics of something that is described to you, the writer is employing visual imagery. This is the most common form of imagery in literature, as the writer relies on the visual description to create a setting, describe characters, and show action. Without visual imagery, it is much harder to employ the other types of imagery. Let's have an example of visual imagery. The golden rays of the setting sun reflected upon the clear waters of the lake. Auditory imagery. It is produced by the use of words that appeal to the sense of hearing. When you are reading and you can hear sounds produced by nature, machinery, or someone's voice, it's because of the description employed in the author's auditory imagery. The sounds need to be described using adjectives, adverbs, and especially comparison to other images. Let's have an example of auditory imagery. The trees rustled as the wind whistled gently through the leaves. Tactile imagery. It is produced by the use of words that appeal to the sense of touch. Sensations like itching, stickiness, and the warmth of sunlight all count as tactile imagery, which appeals to the way your skin may feel in that moment. Let's have an example of tactile imagery. My toes went numb and a shiver ran through my body as I stepped into the cold water. Kinesthetic imagery. It is produced by the use of words that appeal to the sense of movements or actions. The sensations one feels when on the move, like running against the wind or swimming through the brisk of waters, are examples of kinesthetic imagery. This imagery anchors the description of psychomotor skills or activities and its effects. Here is an example of kinesthetic imagery. It's Christmas! He turned on the music and all the guests started swaying to the tunes of the song. Olfactory imagery. It is produced by the use of words that appeal to the sense of smell. By describing the peculiarities of a scent, its richness, distinctness, or even its physical effect after smelling it, the author transports the readers, highlighting how pleasant or unpleasant the smell is. Let's have an example of olfactory imagery. The stench of the rotting garbage overpowered my nostrils when I opened the bin. Gustatory imagery. It is produced by the use of words that appeal to the sense of taste. Gustatory imagery captures a flavor's richness, acidity, earthiness, sweetness, bitterness, harshness, and etc. It also emphasizes the physical effect of the food in the mouth or stomach. Here is an example of a gustatory imagery. Her mouth watered and her tongue burned as she bit into the sour mango pie. Organic imagery. It is produced by the use of words that appeal to the internal feelings. Organic imagery is unrelated to the five basic senses. Instead, it appeals to the internal sensations, feelings, and emotions. It describes personal experiences such as fatigue, hunger, thirst, fear, love, loneliness, despair, elation, and nostalgia. Organic imagery is subjective, which contributes to it being a more difficult and complex form of mental imagery, since the writer's goal is to create a specific emotion or feeling within the reader. Here is an example of organic imagery. Her eyes lit up the moment she saw him, and she ran into his arms. The emotions or internal feelings evoked in this statement are excitement, happiness, and missing someone. In general, imagery is often used in poetry. With that, the poet uses imagery to describe what he or she has imagined. Then, the reader translates the imagery into a mental image to understand holistically the poem. However, take note that imagery is also applicable in prose narratives, especially in describing characters, setting, and feelings. With that, imagery forces the reader to imagine the poet or author saw, heard, smelled, felt, and tasted. And that's it for today's video about the different types of imagery. I hope you learned a lot. See you in our next video.